Hey everybody, and welcome out to this week's ClickFunnels Q&A webinar. My name is Mark Bangeter, and with me this week again is Fred Gleek. He is our moderator and your advocate to make sure that I am answering questions in a way that you can understand. So today, if you guys are joining today to learn about custom domains, that is what we are going to be covering. I want to make sure that you guys understand what DNS records are, how to set up your custom domains, how to set up your SMTP settings, because this can be a very tricky area, and it doesn't have to be. And so that's why I really wanted to focus on this specific part. So we are going to prioritize questions about custom domains. There is a question there from Omer. Are you able to see the questions now, Fred?
Now I can, but I can't see Omer's. I just see JoJo's here's got.
Omer might have added his question before you joined the broadcast. That might be why.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and grab Omer's question real quick here. I like Omar. He's a good guy. He's running a good operation as promoting woodworking products. So he's asking, as new subscribers join your email list, do your original emails start to go out to the new subscribers? And yes, that's the way it should be working with Actionetics. If you have it set up correctly, the email list would go to the action funnel, and when somebody joins that list, that will trigger the action funnel for them, and in that sequence. So that's how it should work. As far as custom domains go, we have a couple questions on custom domains. I'm gonna actually let's hold off on answering these right now. I'm going to go through a quick little presentation. Well, it might not be quick. It might be about 15, 20 minutes because there is a lot to cover. Fred, if you see questions coming in regarding what I'm talking about at that time, let me know so I can clarify anything, and then we'll go through, because I really want to make sure everyone has a really good understanding of custom domains and SMTP. So I'm going to share my screen. So you guys should be able to see my screen there. And I put together this quick little presentation and just added this as being what exactly are DNS records? The world may never know. So that's hopefully everyone understands that reference. If not, then you're too young. What exactly are DNS records? And this is something that a lot of people don't understand. And I remember before I really understood what DNS records were, it's just the thought of it made me want to curl up into the fetal position on the floor. I was afraid I was going to break the internet, and shut everything down. And I'm sure some of you who have tried messing around with DNS records, you've probably done something which took down your website. And so now you're probably freaking out. You don't want to change anything, because you don't want to break anything else. But DNS records are basically mapping files that tell the DNS server which IP address each domain is associated with. So a website is actually associated with an IP address. Just like we have a physical address for our house, the IP address is the address for that website. And so when I actually have let me actually scroll down here.
What does IP stand for?
I believe it's Internet Protocol.
That's right.
So an IP address is typically something that's like 12.888.346.687. And so it's not something that you're going to readily remember when you're typing in a web address. So we create domains like ClickFunnels.com, and so when you go to your website or go to your browser on your computer as a user, you would type in ClickFunnels.com. Your browser would then ask the internet where to find ClickFunnels.com. The internet looks to the name server records. The name server records point to the DNS host, and the DNS host tells the internet where those IP addresses are located. This is actually a very basic explanation. There's a lot more to it than this. But
Mark, quick interruption.
uh-huh.
So I've got fredgleek.com. That's my main site, right? So fredgleek.com has an IP address and all of this stuff. If I changed hosting companies, would that change anything?
It would, yeah. So basically, right. So let's just say right now you're hosted with Bluehost. Okay. So right now your name server records are pointing to an address on Bluehost, and because Bluehost has all the files for fredgleek.com. And that's another thing to understand is that a web page isn't anything more than a file. It's just like a Word doc file or a PowerPoint file. It's just a different format, right? And so each web page is just a different file. It's just a file that the browser reads and turns into what a web page looks like. It's just a different format and code and everything like that. And so those files for your web pages, they're hosted at your web host. The name servers are pointed to Bluehost, and it knows that when somebody goes to fredgleek.com to look to Bluehost to find those files. Now, let's just say you were to change your hosting to GoDaddy. You would need to change your name servers to then point to GoDaddy so that when somebody goes to fredgleek.com, the internet knows, oh, look, these name servers are now pointing to GoDaddy instead of to Bluehost. So it's all DNS records and hosting and all that. It's all just making sure everything is pointing to the right spot. So once you have that basic understanding, your name servers point to the DNS host.
Wait, real quick. Norman asked a good question that's relevant here. Are DNS servers run by web hosting companies or by some other third party?
Both. So when you set up an account with GoDaddy, for example, your DNS and hosting could both be managed by GoDaddy. However, Cloudflare, which we're going to go through, is actually a DNS-only hosting. So all they do is manage your DNS records. They do not manage they actually do not host your websites.
Let me just jump in here a second, Mark. For the purposes of most people on here who aren't technical, how much of this do we really need to know? All we really need to know is if I set up a ClickFunnels funnel and I want it, instead of going to clickfunnels.blank.blank/blank, if I want it to go through and have a domain name associated with it, that's really what people need to know here, right?
Yeah, I wanted to cover the basics just so that people would know what is going on kind of behind the scenes. That was actually one of the questions I got beforehand, was people were asking to explain this a little bit. So this is the basic rundown.
Debbie wants you to define what a name server is.
A name server is basically a record on DNS hosting that tells that tells the internet where to find your website files. So, actually, I'm sorry, where to find your DNS records. That's actually what it's doing. The name servers point to your DNS hosting. So,
to answer Danielle's questions, Fred Gleek is this guy, spelled Gleeck, and Fred Gleek is now trying to help Mark to make sure that all the questions get answered, because I do this. I've done interviewing of business people for over 30 years.
Yeah, Fred's here to help me out, to make sure that I answer everyone's questions in a way that can be understood, to keep me in line, basically.
There you go.
So let me go ahead and go on, because I don't want to focus too much on that part. But these are the DNS records you need to worry about. An A record stands for address, and that's going to point to an IP address. A C name stands for canonical name, and that is going to make one domain an alias of another domain. And so you're going to see this a lot when you're setting up ClickFunnels as well as SendGrid. Okay? MX record stands for mail exchange, and this is to make sure that your email is working. And when I say email, I don't mean your SMTP, your outbound marketing emails. This is your hosted email. And hosted email is your day-to-day email. This can be your personal email or your business email, whatever it might be. But what these MX records are doing are making sure that your emails are actually sending. So when you set up your custom domains and everything like that, you want to make sure that all your MX records are correct, so that way you can actually send and receive emails, whether they're business or personal, like I was saying. NS record stands for name server and indicates which name server is authoritative for the domain. So you're only going to have one set of NS records for your domain, but you might have multiple CNAME, multiple A records, multiple NX records, and there's actually a whole lot of other records, but we're not going to focus on those today.
And just so everybody knows, if you're mildly confused, don't worry, so am
I. So what do you need for this process of setting up your domains in SendGrid? You're going to need a free Cloudflare account. You're going to need a free or paid SendGrid account. And then you're going to have hosted email. So GoDaddy has hosted email for $5 per month per user, and that's usually through Google Apps or through Microsoft 365. You could go through Google Apps, which is actually changing into the G Suite. That's $5 per month per user. Or you can do what I do, go through DreamHost. You get unlimited email addresses and web hosting for about $100 a year.
Real quick, Mark, again, tell me, I've got a regular Gmail account. That's not considered hosted email, correct?
No, that's just personal email, and you cannot actually use a regular personal Gmail account with marketing emails. Gmail will not allow that, and actually any other Yahoo or Hotmail or anything like that.
You also recommended to me when we did our multiple sessions to use SendGrid. There are a couple questions in the group here saying, why SendGrid? Should I use SendGrid as opposed to one of the others? Why did you recommend it? Because that's what I did. I did what you said.
SendGrid is the easiest one to set up. And I've asked one of our email deliverability consultants that we use, and he said SendGrid is the best one to use as well, not just for ease of use, but for email deliverability. So here's the explanation of what SendGrid is and what it does. In ClickFunnels, there's an app called Actionetics, and you can actually, even if you don't have Actionetics in your account, you would still need SendGrid because you can actually set up emails to go out from your funnels as well without Actionetics. So you can send emails from ClickFunnels. So let's just use the example of let's just say you write a letter to someone. Actually, on a piece of paper, you write a letter, you stick it in an envelope, you put a stamp on it. You have written that letter, you've sealed it up, you take it to the post office. The mailman is the person that actually delivers that letter to the recipient, right?
Right.
In this case, ClickFunnels and Actionetics, that's where you write that email, right? You write that letter. You create it in ClickFunnels and Actionetics. You address it, you seal it up, and send it on its way. It goes through SendGrid, which then delivers it to the recipient. In this case, SendGrid is the mailman.
Got it.
So basically, yeah, so that's what SendGrid does. So yeah.
That's good. Let's also, Albert is asking, and I think it's a good point, then explain exactly, just like what you did with SendGrid, explain what Cloudflare is and what Cloudflare does.
So Cloudflare, so most people, let's just take like a common example of how a lot of people outside of ClickFunnels might set up their website. So someone might go to GoDaddy, register a domain, and set up their hosting and email all within GoDaddy. So all the DNS and everything is hosted and managed right there in GoDaddy. Now, what Cloudflare does is, let's just say you have a domain that's registered in GoDaddy, but you want to use it in ClickFunnels. You would then point that domain from GoDaddy to Cloudflare, and Cloudflare then points it to ClickFunnels. Cloudflare is kind of like a switchboard, like the old school operator switchboards, where they direct everything to the right. It directs everything to the right place. So I see a question from Terry asking, why not use the mail within my hosting service? You can absolutely do that. If you have email within your hosting service, you can use that. These are just some suggestions.
Well, one of the reasons why I think, and this answers Terry's question as well, is one of the reasons why you recommended that I use SendGrid as opposed to that is deliverability rates go way up, correct?
Correct. So one of the things when you're using something, where it's a shared server, you're sharing a server that other people are using to send emails. And so that's the benefit of like a paid SendGrid account and upgrading is you can get your own dedicated server. But basically, when you're sending emails on the same server as someone else, if they're sending spam, that can affect your deliverability as well. And we're going to go over ways to combat that, even if you are using the shared server. But let me go ahead and move on to the next slide here. Before you set up your custom domain, you want to set up your hosted email if you haven't done that already. So what happens a lot of times is someone builds out a new funnel, they set up a new domain, they want to add it to ClickFunnels right away. I recommend setting up your email first, because what happens is when you create an email address, it's going to create all those DNS records, those MX records that I was talking about before, and you're going to need those to get pulled into Cloudflare. And so it's going to save you some time. You can always actually go back and add those in later, but you want to, if you do it in the first, if you set up your hosted email first, it's going to be a lot easier. So let me show you an example. So I set up a domain the other day. I registered, where'd it go? Right here, customdomainscourse.com. I registered this domain. Okay. I went in and I set up an email address. So this is my inbox for info@customdomainscourse.com. And if I scroll down here, you'll see there's MX records, and those are what are going to be used to send email.
And again, you're using Dreamhost because you get it for $100 a year, unlimited.
Right. And that's actually paying for 2 years at a time. I just averaged it out to $100 a year.
Okay.
You'll see here there's MX records, more MX records. There's an A record for mail, for this subdomain mail, for mailboxes and webmail. So these are all the records that are necessary in order for my webmail to function. If one of these was out of the place, this webmail here, where I can send and receive email, would not function correctly. Because I have set this up first, you'll see when I go into the next steps in Cloudflare, Cloudflare is going to pull all of these records in for me instead of me having to go in and copy and paste all of these into Cloudflare manually. So that's the benefit of setting up your email first.
Now I got a question. Okay, go back to that other screen you just were on.
DreamHost right here?
Yeah. Okay, so now look at all of these items under value. My question is, do I have to know to put VADE dot blah blah, or is that automatic? Like, how do I get those items in there?
Well, when you create your email, when you set up your hosted email, the system should create these automatically for you.
Okay, good. So I don't have to do that manually.
No, but what I was saying is if you set up your domain in Cloudflare first before setting up your email, you would have to go in and recreate these, copy and paste these into Cloudflare. Yeah,
so if you're like me, folks, don't do that. Do this first.
Yeah. So first step, set up your hosted email. If you use Namecheap as your domain registrar, they offer a free email service. You get one free email address, but you have to be using their name servers. And since we're going to be changing the name servers to custom name servers, it won't work. So you can't use the free email with Namecheap if you're going to be pointing it to Cloudflare.
So real quick, Debbie's question is, do you need Cloudflare, SendGrid, and hosted email, all three of those items to make this work?
If you want your business to function correctly, yes.
The answer is yes, buddy.
However, like somebody else had mentioned before, I don't know, I think it might have been Terry, but if you already have email hosting set up, then you're good. This is like the basic setup from starting with nothing almost. So going down here. Okay, so before setting up your custom domain, you should also do your SendGrid account setup, confirm your email address, and provide business information. So I've kind of got through the first part of the boring stuff, where it's just slides and technical stuff. So now I'm going to go through the walkthrough kind of stuff. So this is SendGrid. I'm going to click try for free. Like I said, if you do a paid account, you do get some additional benefits. But I'm just going to do the free account here. And so this is going to ask me for a username. So I'm going to do custom domains course. Password. Let's actually just generate a password here. And then email address info@customdomainscourse.com. Create account. So now I have to confirm my email. So I'm going to go here, refresh my email. I don't see any email coming in here. Let's check spam, inbox.
Will DreamHost will show you all of your emails for all your different accounts?
Not in this. I actually DreamHost. You have to log into a separate webmail app for each one. So what I actually do is I forward all my emails to my Gmail account, and then I set it up in my personal Gmail account so I can send from that address. But that's a different day, different story altogether. So here's the email from SendGrid. Confirm email address. Looks like Kelly's saying, does SendGrid account name have to match the biz name? No, not necessarily. So I'm just going to fill out this information here. I'm going to do custom domains course. Now, one thing I have found, though, is this website URL. If you use a URL that's not active, what's going to happen is SendGrid is going to kind of go through and audit your account after you set it up. If you use a website that's not active, they might shut down your account before you even get started. If that happens to you, you just have to set up a page on that domain and then say, hey, I've got my site set up, and no, you'll be good to go. So I'm going to do custom domains course.com, street address. I'm just going to do a dummy address, country. That's not right. Let's do United States. City. Phone number. Occupation. You do have to fill all this out, by the way. Types of emails, do transactional and marketing. Do you send email on behalf of other companies? If you're an agency, say yes. If you're not, say no. What's your expected monthly email volume? Just answer this question. What industry are you in? You can select one, select other, click save. So now you'll see this banner at the top, this yellow banner that says your account is being provisioned. That means you can't actually use your account until they approve you. I'm not sure what that provisioning process entails, but it typically happens within 5 to 10 minutes. So now I have this account set up, and like I said, I recommend doing that first so that way it's set up and you're ready to go before you start this whole domains process. So let's go back here to our next steps. What I'm going to be doing is walking through each one of these steps with the slides so that you guys can see what I'm doing.
Hey, Jennifer is asking, she says she's still confused. She has a GoDaddy email hosting. Do I still need SendGrid is her question. I think you're going to walk through that. She may not. If she has email hosting through GoDaddy, she may not need SendGrid, correct?
No, actually, she would still need both. So GoDaddy email hosting is for your day-to-day email. You're sending personal emails to someone that you know, to a business, to a friend, whatever it may be, with your custom domain address. SendGrid is for transactional and email marketing emails. GoDaddy actually prohibits you from using your email address for marketing purposes.
There you go. So Jennifer, yes, you will still need SendGrid.
Okay. So I'm going to go to Cloudflare, and I'm going to set up an account here. info@customdomainscourse.com. I'm just going to
By the
copy
way,
and
if I
paste
could
that.
just interject, Mark, and say that when I went through my training with Mark, one of the things that I did to make it easy for me, which I think a lot of people could benefit from, is I just did exactly what Mark said to do with the tools he said to use, and that worked. Therefore, you may have to spend another dollar or two here or there, but if you just follow what he says and do it, Cloudflare, SendGrid, the whole bit, I'm good with that.
Yeah, definitely. I need to make sure that I have the password I just created for SendGrid saved, so I'm doing that in the background here really quick, or else I'm not going to be able to set up my SMTP settings. Um, okay, so Cloudflare, I'm going to generate a password for this one. I agree to Cloudflare's terms and conditions. So let's save this one. And if you're wondering what I'm using for my password manager, it's 1Password. It works great. Okay, so it took me back to this page. So let me see if I got an email from Cloudflare here. All right, I got one from SendGrid. Oh, see, it looks like they didn't provision my account because of the domain. So that's kind of what I was telling you before. So I would need to set up a site on this domain. So I'm going to use I'm going to use a different SendGrid account for the examples, at least to show you guys. But that's exactly what I was talking about before, where it didn't provision the account. It looks like the Cloudflare account didn't set up. So let me go ahead and do that really quick here again. I'm going to click create account. Apparently the passwords don't match. So create account. There we go.
While you're doing that, Emily's asking, I purchased my domain on GoDaddy, but have it hosted with HostGator, which provides unlimited emails. Do I still need SendGrid? Don't understand the benefit. Now, will HostGator allow you to do this kind of email that SendGrid does?
Nope, it's the same situation. Your
Exactly.
web host, they typically will not allow you to do marketing emails unless you specifically have a plan with them for an SMTP service for marketing and transactional emails.
And Robert has an excellent question. Do you need separate Cloudflare accounts for each domain?
No, you can have all of your domains in a single Cloudflare account. I just set up a new Cloudflare account just for the purpose of showing you guys how to set it up.
Perfect. And Manuel, yes, this webinar is being recorded and will be archived.
Okay, so now we're right here on this first page of Cloudflare. So they haven't sent me a confirmation email yet. They typically do. But I'm going to go to add a new site in Cloudflare. So I'm going to add customdomainscourse.com. And what's going to happen is it's going to play this video. It takes about 60 seconds. And it actually does. It counts down right here. The video here is about 60 seconds. It's scanning those DNS records. So basically what it's doing, these are my existing DNS records for my customdomainscourse.com domain. So Cloudflare is pulling all of these DNS records here into Cloudflare. So while it's doing that, let's see, I got about 30 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and close out of that SendGrid account. And then I'm going to just go ahead and log into another SendGrid account.
As you're doing that, Penny's asking, so the SendGrid account would be used instead of Aweber or differently, question mark?
So if you're using Aweber for your autoresponders, you wouldn't need to set up an SMTP account such as SendGrid. This is for emails that get sent out from ClickFunnels. So let me go ahead and log in here.
Linnell, by the way, that was funny. That's a personal thing here, so she just had a little bit of a mistype. That's fine.
Oh yeah. Let's see. I have too many accounts that I've set up. Let me.
And
Oh,
by the way, the number of questions, definitely, we've got a ton of people on this webinar. There are a lot of questions, so just try and hang in there. Believe me, if you just set it up, I just followed what Mark said to do. Even if you have everything else, my suggestion is just do it the way he's saying to do it, because it may cost you a few more dollars, but a couple more, and just do it that way because it's easier.
all right. So now, actually, you'll notice it didn't pull any of my DNS records in. So that can sometimes happen. So what I'm going to actually need to do is copy each one of these into Cloudflare. I'm not going to do that right now because that's going to take a couple minutes just to copy and paste back and forth.
Is it in the same order, Mark?
It doesn't really matter. The order doesn't matter
I was
at
just
all.
wondering if the copy and paste can be done sequentially, number one, number two, or is it all over the place?
No, the sequence of how these DNS records get added doesn't matter. So let's just pretend that all of those DNS records got added here. Because if I go forward like this, my email is no longer going to work. And so I will have to add those in order for my email address to keep working. But what I'm going to do, if I want to point this to my ClickFunnels account, I'm going to click on this little drop-down menu here. It usually has an A, and I'm going to change that to CNAME. Remember, that stands for canonical name. The name here is going to be the name of your domain. So one thing that you can do is to make it easy, instead of typing out your entire domain, if you just do the @ symbol, that actually stands for your root domain, which in this case is customdomainscourse.com. You could type your entire domain here, or you could just type the @ symbol. It's just a shortcut. The domain name in this field is going to be target.clickfunnels.com. And then I'm going to click Add Record. Then you're going to click this cloud so that it's orange. If you have any record here that's pointing to an actual web page, you want to make sure that this cloud is orange. For any MX records or anything like that, it doesn't matter. You actually don't want it to be clicked.
And Linnell is asking, if you've already set up Cloudflare with ClickFunnels, do I need to do this again for some reason, say for the CNAME?
Only if you want to add an additional domain or additional subdomain to your ClickFunnels account in the same Cloudflare account.
So if you're only using one domain, then don't worry about it, Linnell.
So another thing you need to do here now is you need to add www. So funny thing, www is .customdomainscourse.com is actually a completely separate domain than customdomainscourse.com. A lot of people don't know that. It's a subdomain. But what happened was, I guess, in the 90s when the internet got big, we had the World Wide Web, right? So everyone was using www to indicate World Wide Web. And so because we got into that habit, everyone's in the habit of typing www to go to a website. So we need to make sure that we add that to take care of those people who still type in www. Now, when you type in the www, you actually want the www to go to your root domain. So www is going to point to customdomainscourse.com. So I'm going to click Add Record, and I'm going to click that cloud there. I'm going to click Continue, and I'm going to select the free Cloudflare plan. This is their upsell, by the way. This is their funnel. They give you an upsell right here, but you can do the free plan. I'm going to click Continue. Now I need to change these name servers. So you'll see my current name servers are ns1.dreamhost.com, ns2.dreamhost.com, ns3.dreamhost.com. I need to change them to this. So I'm going to copy and paste. I'm going to go up here to where my name servers are, paste that first one in, paste the second one in, and then delete the third one. Set these name servers. Now this can take anywhere from 5 minutes to 48 hours to change and update, depending on your registrar. In some cases, your registrar and hosting account is the same. I'm going to go back here to Cloudflare and click Continue, and it's going to say Pending. While I'm waiting for this to update, I'm going to go here to Page Rules. I'm going to go back here to show you where I'm at. So I added a new site, verified the DNS records, added the CNAME records, changed the NS records. Now I'm at page rules here. Okay? So click on page rules, click create page rule, and I'm going to type www.customdomainscourse.com/*character. So what you're doing here, because remember, like I said, some people tend to still type in www when they're going to a website. So what we're doing here is creating a rule that is going to redirect people from www to the non-www domain. So this is important to do so that all of your links work in case people manually type them in. So I'm going to click add a setting, pick a setting, forwarding URL. I'm going to have this be a permanent redirect. And then the destination URL is going to be http://customdomainscourse.com/$1. So this part can be kind of confusing, but you'll notice I didn't put the www right here, right? No www. If I were to type a www right here, it would give me a redirect error. So what this does is, if somebody types in customdomainscourse.com/, this asterisk is a wildcard. So any page on that domain, it's going to forward to a matching page on the non-www domain. So this is important. It's kind of technical. Everyone's probably scratching their heads, but it is important to do. I'm going to go back to overview, and I'm going to see if the name servers have updated yet. Doesn't look like it. I'm going to actually refresh the page maybe. Nope. So it hasn't done that yet. The next step is going to be to go to my ClickFunnels account, custom domains, click add new domain, and I'm just going to type in the root domain, customdomainscourse.com. The root of URL right here, this is your default page. If someone just goes to customdomainscourse.com, what page do I want them to go to? So this is going to be the default page that they get sent to. The 404 page is if somebody goes to customdomainscourse.com/error, which is a page that doesn't exist, it'll send them to the error page. So if they mistype a link or something like that, it'll send them to an error page. Usually, I just set this to the same one. You can set up a separate 404 page if you like. Right here, you can.
Explain what the 404 page is.
It's when somebody types in a URL on a domain that doesn't exist. The 404 page is it's just telling them that they reached a page that doesn't exist, and so.
It's also a good chance to put some kind of a marketing element message there to get
absolutely put some affiliate links or an opt-in or something.
Hey, something.
Yeah. So this enable SSL, you can turn this on. However, in Cloudflare, it actually takes up to 24 hours for the SSL certificate to activate, and so it might not go through right away. So you probably want to leave this off at first. Come back in here after a day or two, and then turn it on. Click create domain. Now I've added the domain to my account. I can use it on as many funnels and pages as I want. So I'm going to go to funnels.
Which, as you're doing that, there's a question from Jorge that said, if I have multiple clients and want to set up more than one funnel in ClickFunnels, do I have to do this for each client?
I would recommend setting up a custom domain for each client. Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
And it just depends. I mean, do they already have their own Cloudflare account and you're using their Cloudflare account, or are you going to host all the domains in your Cloudflare account? So there's just a few things to take into consideration there.
And Chris is asking, good question. I already set this up, but I did not test it yet. Is it a good idea to do the whole thing again, or do I have to cancel everything, or can I just overwrite the same info?
If you've already set it up and it's not working correctly, usually it's just a matter of checking the DNS records, making sure the page rules are set up correctly. There's different things to check. You don't have to redo the whole thing. You can always reach out to our support team and do it that way.
And by the
Albert,
way,
I just
the
go ahead.
answer is yes. This webinar is being recorded. If you came on late, there's plenty of information here. And I know that lots of you have questions, some of which we just can't answer because of time constraints.
So I see a couple of good questions about subdomains, and I meant to get to that. So let's just say that my custom domains course is a WordPress site. So I would still do the same thing and pull all my DNS records into Cloudflare. So what's going to happen is, let's just say my WordPress site is hosted right here in DreamHost. Then I'm going to change the name server's host to point to Cloudflare, and then Cloudflare is going to point right back to DreamHost for my WordPress website. And then I can point to ClickFunnels with a subdomain. So to set up a subdomain, all you do is you add another CNAME record here. So I could do, let's just do secure, like I want to do an order page. And all I have to do is type the subdomain. So this would be secure.customdomainscourse.com, and then I type target.clickfunnels.com. And you could actually, you could set up 100 subdomains this way if you wanted to. Click that cloud, and then you would add that into your ClickFunnels custom domain settings. So that's how you do a subdomain. Pretty simple.
Good one there. Yeah. How quickly, by the way, Mark, people are asking, how quickly will the replay be up?
Within the next couple of days, hopefully. The last one I actually got up pretty quick. The one before that took me a couple weeks, so. So it just depends on how much time I have.
Yeah.
But hopefully I can get the entire things put up pretty quick, and then what I do is I go through and break down each question into a separate article. So going back here to the funnel, there's actually a few places where you need to set your custom domain in your funnel. So right here at the top in this blue bar, this URL, this is your funnel URL. Now your funnel URL, it is always going to go to the first step of your funnel. It isn't associated with any page directly. It just redirects people to the first step of your funnel. So if you were to swap out the first step of your funnel with another page, this would still go to that step. So I'm going to click on Settings. I'm going to click on Domain, select my domain, and then I can change the path right here to whatever I want. And then in these settings, I can hit Enter right here in this field, or I can scroll all the way down and click Save and Update Settings.
Quick question from Alex. Why do we need a subdomain?
If you have an existing website, like a blog or a WordPress site or any other website that you want to keep, but you want your ClickFunnels pages to be on a similar domain, then you would need a subdomain because you cannot have two websites on the same domain.
Good question.
The next step here is this URL that you see right here in the middle of the page. This is your publishing URL or your funnel step URL. This is not actually the page URL. So the reason that you use this link, though, to when you post on Facebook, you create Facebook ads, what this URL is going to do is going to rotate between your split tests. So if you can have up to 3 split tests, and this link is going to rotate between those. Now let's just say, for example, that you were to link directly to this variation here in your Facebook ad. And you have a split test, but then you decide that this second split test should be the winner. When you promote this split test to be the winner, it's going to delete this page that you've been linking to, which is going to break the links that you have in your Facebook ads. So that's why we have this funnel step URL, so that you can have a link that you can always link to and not worry about it breaking.
Yeah, that's great.
So I'm going to click here on this gear icon or up here on this publishing tab. It's going to take me to the same place. I'm going to select the domain. Then I can change the path, so I can say, free ebook, because this is the link that people are going to see in your ad or in your posts. And then right here, next to the Edit Page button, you click this gear icon, and this takes you into the page settings. Now this is the URL that's actually going to show up in the address bar of your page. When somebody goes to the page, this is what they're going to see. So you can have this be whatever you want. So I'm going to have that be ebook. So someone's going to see in the address bar, customdomainscourse.com/ebook. Click Update Page. Don't click the Restore button. So now that first step is set up. I need to repeat the funnel step URL and the page URL set up for each step in my funnel. Let me go back here, and I'm going to see if this is updated yet. It might not let me. Well, that's updated. So we are getting short on time, but you guys have had a lot of good questions. I hope that this is you guys have been able to follow along with this. And so I'm going to walk through the SMTP setup part now. Just to refresh, when we did the page rules, the SSL settings, adding the domain to the ClickFunnels account, and updating the pages. So the SMTP process actually has a lot more steps. And so we're going to go to the ClickFunnels account. I'm going to go to Account, click on SMTP settings. If you're already in your account settings, you would click right here on Outgoing SMTP. You see I have a Mailgun account set up here just for demo purposes, but I'm going to click Add SMTP Configuration. Now this title right here, this is just for your reference. So I'm going to say SendGrid, then I'm going to say Custom Domains Course.com, so I know which one this is. From name, this can be your name, or this can be your business name. And then the from email is the email that it's going to be coming from. So that's why you want to make sure that you have this set up as a hosted email, because if you're sending email from this address and people hit reply, it needs a place to go. So the SMTP server is going to be smtp.sendgrid.net. The port number is 587. The username and password is your login for SendGrid. So I'm not going to put my actual login here because it doesn't obscure your password, but that would be your actual username and password. SMTP domain is just going to be sendgrid.net. And then the footer is going to be, I have this saved.
You just said sendgrid.net, you meant .com, right?
Yep, nope, I meant .net actually. I just typed it wrong. Good call. So this footer here, I'm actually going to add this to the chat so you guys can copy this. The footer supports HTML, and so you should have your address in the footer to be spam or CAN-SPAM compliant. Also, this merge tag right here, this unsub, that's what's going to populate with the unsubscribe link for that contact. But if you don't format it like this, it's going to be this real ugly long link. And so the way I have it set up right here, it's going to say unsubscribe, and the word unsubscribe is going to be hyperlinked with their unsubscribe link, so it looks a lot cleaner. You can have it be your default SMTP integration, and then what you're going to do is you're going to copy this webhook URL, and then you're going to go to SendGrid, and you're going to click on Settings, Mail Settings, and then I've already set this up in this account, but you're going to click on Event Notification, click On, and then you're going to paste that webhook URL right here, and then you're going to select Dropped, Bounced, Unsubscribed From, and Mark as Spam. Then you're going to scroll back up here and click this little blue check mark. That's going to save it. And then you're going to go to White Labels right here. Now, the white label, what this does is it sends the email from your domain. So it's going to increase your email deliverability, okay? So this is important. So it makes sure that people get your emails. So I'm going to add a new domain to show you how this works. So the subdomain that you set up is not going to be linked to an actual page. So I like to do notifications because I'm never going to have a website set up on notifications. And then I click Use New Domain. Then I'm going to do customdomainscourse.com. If it's your only domain, select Default White Label. Click Save, Confirm, and then you get more DNS records. So these need to be copied and pasted into Cloudflare right here. So you change this to CNAME, You paste the first record there in the name. So host, this host column right here is the same as the name, and the data column is the domain name. So I'm going to copy the data. Yeah.
I just want to add, for people that are watching this, I would say that on a scale of technical 1 through 10, this is like a 9 to 9.5. So therefore, everybody watching this that's kind of like me, that's kind of a, so-so, I know a little bit, blah, 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 we have a choice here to make. Either you can try and do this yourself, or option B, which is have someone help you do it. You need to tell people how they can do option B as well.
Yeah, so there's, our support team doesn't really set all of this up for you. But if you do need help, I mean, we do have our Quick Start program. If you go to, let me add the link. If anyone's interested in one-on-one support, there's a link in the chat there. Or you can reach out in our Facebook group and see if there's anyone that you can, pay for a phone call to walk you through the process.
Or pay to do it for you.
Yeah, or pay to do it for you. Exactly.
Yeah, and don't feel bad, folks. Most of you in this chat right now are like me, which is I'm completely blown away by all this technical stuff. Now, again, it's just a new language, and if you want to learn this, you can. It's like learning another language, like a foreign language. So you have to just really get comfortable with the fact that it'll take a while, right? I mean, right. Mark, you didn't get this overnight, did you?
No, I mean, it's taken me 10 years to learn all this stuff about DNS records and all that. Yeah, I mean, I haven't studied it full on, 40 hours a week, but just to get to the point where I am now, I've been dealing with DNS records for that long. So, but I mean, I didn't get as comfortable as I am now until I started using ClickFunnels. So,
quick question from Martin: do I have to do all this if I have Infusionsoft integrated with ClickFunnels?
No. This is for if you're using the emails from ClickFunnels. If you're using Infusionsoft for your emails, you don't have to go through all this SMTP setup.
Got it. So again, that's another $200-300 a month if you want to do that. In my case, I have chosen not to do that. I'm using SendGrid. There are a lot of benefits to Infusionsoft. There you
go. So what you're going to do is you're going to click Validate Record. It's not going to validate it for me yet because my name servers haven't updated here yet. And so it's not going to be able to pull those details. Oh, now it's active. Look at that. It's green.
Perfect.
So I can actually click Validate Record. And there we go. So that's a valid record. So now when I send emails, I can send through customdomainscourse.com. Now I want to also white label my email links. This is also going to help with deliverability. And I'm going to click Add White Label since I already have one there. So I'm going to do links, or you can do email links. I'm going to use my custom domains course domain, click Save and Confirm. And then there are more DNS records that I need to add to Cloudflare. So go back to DNS, change this to CNAME, copy and paste these, add record, copy and paste. Now this one always gives me an error. I don't know why. Maybe it won't this time. But whenever I add this exact record, it always gives me an error. So let's go back to SendGrid. It may not have updated. It usually takes a couple seconds for Cloudflare to update. Oh, it worked. Didn't give me an error this time. So now I have links that are set up, and I have my email white label. So it's going to be a lot better for my email deliverability. Let me go back here so we can walk through what I've done. So we added the SMTP configuration. I added the footer, right? I copied the webhook URL, added that to my mail settings, checked the boxes for drop, bounce, mark as spam, and unsubscribe from. I clicked the blue check mark, went to the white labels, added the domain. I used the subdomain notifications or something similar. I typed in the domain, saved, confirmed, then I added those CNAME records to Cloudflare, validated those, and I did the same thing with email links. And then I added those CNAME records for email links and validated it. And that is the end of that process there. So the only other thing that I would need to do is click Create SMTP Integration. Now, this is not going to be a valid SMTP integration because this login is not valid. So you have to make sure it's the right login. But I'll go ahead and create SMTP integration to save the settings. And that's about it for that. That's kind of that whole process there. If I go back to my funnel now, and I believe it was the backpack demo funnel, this page is set up on customdomainscourse.com. I'm going to open this in an incognito tab, and you'll see here in the address bar, it is on customdomainscourse.com/ebook. Yeah. So it worked.
Real quick, Tom, slides will be, this is basically a screen recording, so these slides will be part of the recording. How will you know?
If somebody wants this, if anybody wants these slides,
yeah,
let me, I'll give you guys the link here. We've got to change it to anybody can view. Anyone with the link can view, save. So I'm going to post this in the chat here. Did it copy the link? There we go. All right, so there's a link to that. It's just a Google Slides presentation. So you guys can have a copy of these slides. Looks like people are already jumping on there. We got a pink camel, a red buffalo, a Pokemon, a bat. So I hope this has been helpful. I know that it's very technical, very difficult to understand a lot of times, but it is very important as well. So
I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I am too, actually. I feel like I didn't answer as many questions as I normally do because I was mostly demoing. But I think we could probably take a few minutes to answer any questions that people have or that they have asked up to this point.
There are a ton of questions, but a lot of them relate to, in other words, the example that you used here with SendGrid. A lot of people have other and different autoresponder programs that they're using. Pick one, whether it's Aweber or something else, and they're asking, can you integrate those? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, if we go to Account Integrations and then click Add New Integration, under the integration type, these are all of the apps that we integrate with directly.
There you go, Doug. The answer is yes, and there's all of those available. And as you can see, Aweber is right there, third one down.
Yeah. And so if you're using one of these autoresponder integrations, you would not need to go through the SendGrid portion of this setup. You would still need to go through all the Cloudflare setup, but not the SendGrid setup part.
Got it. I think that was one of the basics of this, which is that you really, if you're going to use SendGrid, which I'm using, I guess my webmaster did this all for me, but it's just, there is, again, if you're a technical person, this is beautiful. Everybody who's technical I see saying very, very helpful. Thank you. And for those of you who are confused, don't worry, I'm one of you.
Just to show you what I mentioned earlier, there's two different places in ClickFunnels. So if you have the full Edison suite, which is $297 a month, you have access to ActionEdX, where you can send out emails from there. If you are on the startup plan, which is $97 a month, what you can do is actually in your funnel, under the Automations tab, you can actually create emails that will go out as an autoresponder email. So you're not able to send out email broadcasts, so you can't just send out a newsletter or email blast. They're only reactionary emails when somebody lands on a page in your funnel or opts in on a page in your funnel or purchases something. So you could, but if you're going to do that, if you're going to use these funnel automation emails, you would still want to set up SendGrid.
Got it.
Any other question that we need to cover, Fred?
You know what? I think that gives us the basics, Mark. I really think that, again, I would have plenty of questions if I was trying to do all this myself, but what I would do is go back and watch this over again and go step by step through it like you did. And then I would contact support with individual questions and send them specific, screenshots or whatever to show them what you're going through.
Yeah, and I'm going to be, so once the recording's available, I'll be sharing the link in our Facebook group. And also, just a note on when you contact support, the best thing to do is actually make them a video. So you can, because sometimes if you text anybody that you know, you probably had the experience where a text was misunderstood because the contact, you know what I mean? Maybe an email was misunderstood. The same thing happens sometimes when you reach out to support. They may not fully understand what you're trying to do. So if you make them a screen share video, it's going to be a lot easier for them to understand what you're asking. So that's my recommendation. Whenever you reach out to support.
Mark, if you could post the Facebook group and how to get in there, if people are wondering, some of them, where is that? How do I do it? Some people are not yet on the Facebook group. Let's get them in.
Yeah, let me get you a link to that. I'll post that in the chat here. There's a link to the Facebook group. So you go there. If you're not a member, you can request to join, and you should get added. So there's a lot of people in there. A lot of it's going on 27. Actually, have over 27,000 members of that Facebook group now. So
wow,
there's bound to be someone who can help you out in there.
Yep. Sounds good. Hey, Mark, lots of great information. Thank you very much for everybody here. Sorry if you didn't get your question answered. There's so many people on and so many questions being asked and answered.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you helping to moderate, Fred, and making sure. I know this is a difficult one to understand anyway. Just so everyone knows, I'm trying to get Zapier to come on the webinar next week or maybe within the next few weeks. So if you guys are interested in learning more about what Zapier does, what it is, what it can do, and integrate with ClickFunnels, I'm trying to get that in the next couple of weeks. I just saw a question from Bill at the very end there. He's asking is there a Facebook group dedicated to the affiliate bootcamp? And there actually is. Let me see if I can find it. It's called the Win Your Dream Car 100-Day Challenge. It is not an official Facebook group, but let me put the link here if you're interested in that. Yeah, so.
Well, thanks, Joe Miller, for saying thank you very much, Fred. You helped clarify things tremendously. I hope so, because I'm in the same boat as most of you guys.
Yeah, and I like doing this with Fred because I have a tendency to think that I know something really well, and people are nodding their heads in confusion. But and so Fred, keeps me in line, makes sure that I have clarified things and made them easy to understand. So it helps me a lot as well. So
it's helpful to me as well. Thanks, Mark.
All right. Well, I hope everyone has a great week. Thanks for coming out, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Take care, everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye.